All right, so when it comes to parallelograms, one thing that we need to know is that adjacent angles are equal. And adjacent angles are those angles that are connected with a side. So if I was looking at angle P and Q, so if I was looking at P and Q, adjacent angles, I mean, they're not equal, they are add up to 180. So I see that P is 118. If I was asking for Q, Q will be 62. Right? Adjacent angles add up to 180. Adjacent. And adjacent are those that are next to each other, so basically connected to a side. If I'm looking at angle S, that should also be 62 because you see how P and S are connected by a side. So adjacent angles add up to 180. Now, when the angles are opposite, like P and R, like in this case, they will have to equal each other. So in this case, I'm going to go 118 is equal to 23x plus 3. So adjacent angles add up to 180. Opposite angles are equal to each other. Here we have to solve for x. I'm just going to treat this as an algebra question. Let me subtract 3 from each side. So I have that 115 is equal to 23x. Divide both sides by 23. And x in this case happens to be 5. Remember, adjacent angles add up to 180. Opposite angles are equal to each other. If I look at my example number 2, I see angle y and the entire angle x. I know angle x was broken into two parts, but angle y and the entire angle x should add up to 180 because in that case, they are adjacent angles. So I'm going to have that 110 plus 32x plus 1 plus 37 is equal to 180. I'm going to highlight 32x plus 1 plus 37 because that is the entire angle x. So notice I'm going 110 for angle y plus the entire angle x is equal to 180. All right, now looking at the left side, 32x is just 32x. But the rest I can combine it, right? 110 plus 1 plus 37, that gives me 148. Right, I can combine that. Now let me subtract 148 from each side. So I have that 32x is equal to 32. Divide both sides by 32. In this case, x is equal to 1. Once again, adjacent angles add up to 180. Opposite angles equal each other. Any questions on these two? No? Now, looking at my example 3, when it comes to the sides, opposite sides, and I'm looking at KL and JM. I'm looking at those sides. Opposite sides, kind of like opposite angles, they equal each other. So here I have the 10 is equal to x plus 1. All right. Subtract 1 from each side. X in this case is 9. Opposite sides are equal. Now, when it looks at the diagonals, example 4, I have two diagonals. My diagonals are the ones on the inside. If you notice, I have the diagonal KM. There is another diagonal, JL. They don't necessarily equal each other. Like here, it kind of looks like they equal each other. They don't necessarily equal each other. What they do is that they cut each other in half. So each of my diagonals gets cut in half. So if I was only looking at my diagonal KM, that diagonal is going to be cut in half. I'm told that KM is equal to 18, the whole thing. So I'm going to say this side is 9, this other side is 9, because it was cut in half. Now, my second equation, I'm going to rewrite this, and I look at my letters NM, and I should know something about the distance from N to M. I see the picture. Let me highlight it in orange. NM is just this much. I know NM is 9, So I'm going to rewrite the second equation, but instead of nm, I'm going to write 9 is equal to 2x minus 9. Because I know that nm is 9. So I'm just going to treat this as an algebra question. I'm going to add 9. I have that 18 is equal to 2x. Divide both sides by 2. X in this case happens to be 9. Some cases, like the first equation, km equals 8. Some cases I will give you the entire diagonal. In this case, the whole thing. Break it in half. Some cases I will only give you half of the diagonal. What I mean with that is, let me look at an example. Here, for example, no, not this one. Here, when I look at KU, I'm telling you KU is 10, so only from K to U, not the entire diagonal. That case, I know that UM is also 10. Because remember, the whole diagonal was broken into half. So if KU is 10, UM is 10. Then I look at the instructions here. UM from U to M is 10. So I will just go 10 is equal to 2x minus 14 and work it out from there. So notice how in this one, KU, it's only half of the diagonal. When I gave you guys, when the initial one, KM is the entire diagonal. So some cases I'll give you half, some cases I'll give you the whole diagonal. Any questions?